we have been helping people, our clients, with the E2 visa for over a decade now. And at some point, Joaquin, we realized that, okay, people come here, start with the E2 visa, and they may end up liking the US. Not all do, but some do. And for those, we said, okay,
Most.
um, how can we help our clientele with a possible path to green card? And this is when, and this was many, many years ago, when we have perfected our craft of helping them with the EB2 NIW, EB1A, EB5, or EB1C to sort of get them the permanent residency that they're looking for. This is not what we are known for, but this is something we have been doing for a very, very long time. First of all, Joaquin Rosales Aramburu, help us clear the air on the E2 visa being a non-immigrant visa. Is it really a non-immigrant visa or is it a dual intent visa? What's the situation? I make a promise coming here that I'm going to return back to my country when I'm done with it. But hey, things might change along the way. So is it a dual intent visa?
Yeah, so there's two separate issues. So you spoke about non-immigrant and immigrant. So there's it's important to make a distinction. So the E2 is a non-immigrant visa. Essentially, any visa that doesn't give you a residency, it's a non-immigrant visa. Tourist, student, E2, L1, O1, those are
JM.
non-immigrant visas, right? Then you get into the immigrant visas, and those are the EB1s, EB2s, right? EB3s, EB5s, etc. So there's two distinctions within those visas. All the ones that I just mentioned and much more. Each visa has either a single intent or a dual intent. What does
Mhm.
that mean? So at its base core, let's just use very simple examples. A tourist visa. Everybody knows a tourist visa. A lot of people get the tourist visa over here. So that tourist visa is a single intent visa. So that means that you're supposed to go back home. Okay. You're not really supposed to come here and then attempt to stay here for a longer period of time that you're given initially. So that is in theory. In reality, and this applies to the E2 as well, right? And other visas, there's sort of like a non-spoken but agreed upon rule called the 90-day rule that applies a lot in these situations for people who are say in tourist visa, where the government understands that life happens, and then after 90 days or so, you might make a choice and say, hey, you know what? Initially, I wasn't trying to defraud the government. I wasn't trying to lie to the government, the U.S. government, when I came in. I truly wanted to come in and be a tourist or whatever it may be. But then after a couple of months, I realized, there was avenues for me to become a resident. Spoke to attorneys, spoke to specialists like Visa Franchise, and then I realized that I have a shot at staying here, and I feel like I should stay here, and I want to stay here, right? So then that's a good distinction to make, even though there's these visas that say it's a single intent, dual intent. There is this overall understanding that life happens. If there's enough time, or it's a reasonable time for the government to say, you know what, yeah, it makes sense that after a couple of months you decided perhaps you have good opportunities here in the United States. You want to stay here in the United States. If you apply and you're approved, then you should stay here.
Of
So
course.
it's good for you to bring that up and for our audience to know that there's those differences.
Very good. It's beautiful. Okay. Back to the E2 visa. Joaquin, thank you very much for clearing the air. E2 visa being traditionally a non immigrant visa, a single intent visa. But after some time, you're saying it has been considered highly among the immigration community that maybe, a few months down the line, a year down the line, or 2 years down the line, things could change and the two visa holder might seek a permanent residency, although traditionally that's not what the visa is for. Let's hear from Martin Orwinski. What is the success rate to get a green card from E2? What will help in that process? It's a bit of a broad question. I don't know how you would like to address that, Joaquin.
Well, yeah, in terms of success rate, it really depends on the person. It's all circumstantial. In the end, I think that one topic that we always talk about is if you're here in the United States and you have the opportunity to prove to the government, right, that you're able to help this country in some manner, will it be economically, financially, intellectually, whatever it may be, socially, then you're positioning yourself in a much better place when you're trying to apply for a residency, right? So the proof is in the pudding. You've been here in the States. You've demonstrated that you've created jobs, that you're an entrepreneur. Let's say, let's just stick to that. And you've proven that you are stimulating the economy, that you're employing American citizens, residents, etc. And that's going to be a good profile to put forth after a couple of years. Some people do it in less time, obviously, to then later on position yourself and say, hey, you want a person like me. I'm a person of extraordinary ability, right? Which is basically the language utilized for the EB1A, right? Or exceptional ability if you want to do EB2 and IW. And you should have someone like me in this country, right? And it doesn't have to be only within the entrepreneur class, which we'll talk about a little bit. They sort of narrowed down a little bit what they sort of consider what an entrepreneur is. If you want to apply under the EB2 and IW, that's a conversation we'll have later on. But there's multiple different types of fields that are of importance, not only for the EB2 and IW, but it's just for the country overall, that will position yourself in a really good manner when you want to make that argument to the government. Hey, I've been here. I'm here on an E2. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm employing people. I'm bringing in tax revenue. You want people like me here.
And we have a repeating question from Laura. Can you bring one or two employees with the E2 visa? Very quickly, would you like to address that, Joaquin?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. That's called an essential employee visa. Only requirement is that the employee has to be a citizen national of the country, of your country, if you're the investor. And you just have to basically make the argument that you need that person in order to operate, or that person is going to enhance the operations of the business that is already been approved to come here to the United States. So first, you got to get approved yourself as an investor, and then you say, "Hey, I also need this person who, yeah, I don't know, it's has an integral part in running this business, or it would very much facilitate or help the business expand or be better." And then you can certainly apply for one, two, three, depending on the business. You can do a lot of them. You can do a lot of essential employees. Yeah.